All right, welcome back to another episode of the Balcony Podcast. If the quality of this one's bad, this is all I can do. I've tried everything. If you saw where I'm sitting, it'd be very entertaining for you. But alas, I will introduce my next guest. I think the first thing I'll say is that I've had a lot of people reach out to me and talk about how it's a great men's initiative. But it's actually not exclusive just to males. The way that it started back in Adelaide was with my male friends, but the concept is not gender biased, it's universal. So you may be getting a hint of the gender of my guest that I'm about to introduce. But this person is probably the closest thing to a sister that I've ever had. We've gone through so much in each other's lives, and she has played such a critical role in so many moments for me, probably bearing the brunt of my worst at times. And because I know that she can take it, I've probably relayed too much on her at times. But in the spirit of what I guess we've been talking about and what the purpose of the balcony is, you know, she just really represents someone for me personally that I could always just go to. She's been a rock for me. The growth that she's gone through in her life that I've seen is just like phenomenal. And I talk about who she was when I met her and who she is now and everything that's happened in between. When I'm glowing when I talk about it, because it's amazing. So I think without further ado, Katie, welcome to the Balcony Podcast.
No, so lovely. That was so nice.
You're so welcome. Yeah, look, we've got a lot to unpack, I think. You can start us off anywhere. Go for it. I'm going to leave the floor to you.
All right. Well, I'm holding my phone, so if I'm shaky, it's because it's been a big day.
Yes. Okay.
So I've forgotten what I do.
You just talk about.
I'm sorry, I haven't watched any of the other podcasts. I just checked to make sure I was in it.
Yeah, so funny story for everyone else that's watching. Katie's just, a bit of pre-game chat, and Katie's like, I haven't watched either of the other two. I'm like, that's fine. We're just going to talk. At least this gives evidence that these things are just actually recorded live.
Yeah.
Maybe talk about what the balcony means to you. You've sent me something that's on the Instagram, and it talked a little bit about the experiences we've shared, and then I guess we can start unpacking those to maybe help a couple people with our experiences.
The balcony is huge, basically, for me. And I think it just represents our friendship, and but also like Billy and I have now became like good friends as well, because we debrief you as well to make sure you're okay. But the balcony is just, mental health, like a safe place, like essentially therapy for people that don't want to go to therapy. Essentially, but also like good vibes, good music. And just, I don't know.
Balcony Beats is dope, isn't it, Katie? Balcony Beats is dope.
It is. Do you know what? My dad still plays Balcony Beats every time people are over the playlist.
For those watching that don't know, I have maybe 8 or 9 people on my fridge. And 3 of them are Katie, her father Duncan, shout out to Duncan, and Katie's beautiful daughter Esmeralda. So the family is very close to me. Let's talk about when I hired you. Do you wanna talk a little bit about, you don't have to go through the interview and all that stuff, but maybe where you were in life and some of the experiences that we shared in that little office in the city, and maybe some of the lessons that people can get out of that.
Okay, not the interview.
No.
I had just lost my job working in a pharmacy, and one of my girlfriends said, she worked at the gym as well, she was a receptionist, and she said, oh, there's a sales position, you'd be great at sales, you can talk the ear off of anyone. And I was like, oh, okay. And reluctantly Tyler gave me an interview because he already thought that he had picked out the perfect team, and then I came in like a whirlwind and showed him he's wrong. And then we were all stuck in this tiny little office, and we had another two, well, there was a team of 4 at all times. And to be fair, the other people, they were different. They were not on our level.
They were different.
They were different.
Lovely people, but just different. Eddie didn't get along with one of the team members, but yes, everyone has their positives. Continue.
Yes. So then we were stuck in this tiny little room with everyone together, and you spend like so much. Oh, Bruno's coming up. So we were stuck in this room together, and you spend that much time together as well that you really get to know everyone and you know everything about them. And that's my first introduction to the music that you like as well. That's what I hold. And you'd always say, who's this? And it was always in excess. So I remember that. But Tyler would always sit me down and basically do a review of everything and say, what are your goals? Break it down, push me towards smaller goals to achieve it. Really like, mate, have a look at him.
He's beautiful.
Yeah, look at his bow tie.
He's an adopted cat for those of you playing at home as well. So go rescue some pets. That's a plug.
Yeah, he's got AIDS too. You can't go outside. I'm a responsible cat owner. Forgot what I was talking about.
In excess, music, office.
In excess, music, office. But we had some blow-ups. We had big blow-ups because we're both very strong personalities. Mm-hmm. And I think over that time, we got to know each other. We knew what set each other off. And I think that's where we started both like laying into each other when we were pissed off too. And we always came out okay. We might not talk to each other for a couple of days, but we'd always end up being okay. And I remember you were going through a bit of a hard time as well. And because we're both such open people, me more than you, we went to dinner. Do you remember when we went to dinner in Mawson Lakes?
Oh, yeah, I do remember that.
And we talked some stuff out, and, you know, I guess we always just helped each other.
Mm. And what about that time when I walked into the office?
The anxiety attack?
You want to take it from there?
Yeah. I was having a panic attack, and I like full blown bent over on the chair, like head between my elbows, like could not breathe. Tyler just walks in and starts laughing at me. Yeah. And I went, are you kidding me? He goes, oh, you'll be right, mate.
So I think that's what I wanted to bring that up for, because on paper, you hear that story of me just laughing at someone having an anxiety attack and you think, well, you're an asshole. What are you doing? You have no idea what's going on.
No, it made the situation so much better.
The reason, exactly, and the reason why I wanted to bring that up is what you said before about we got heated at each other at times, or we pushed each other in certain ways, is I think what you and I did from the get-go from there is we were just very honest with each other about who we were. You know, I joke about the interview, but like when we both met each other, we both knew exactly where we were in life because we were just transparent. And that enabled us to really push each other in a professional sense, in a positive way. But then that also opened the door to really learn about how each other felt and why. And I guess the reason why I asked you to bring up the anxiety attack thing is because that's the extreme level I think that we got to within such a short period of time by just being vulnerable with each other, being there for each other, to a point where a lot of people listening, and I have met other people and know a lot of other people that have gone through and suffer from anxiety. I would never do that to anyone else that I've met that suffers from that, because it's just, you know, it was just Katie. It's just
but we were already at that point, like of that friendship, that it was like, all right, like you said before, like brother and sister, like already made that bond that deep that it was like, you know, like you're there for me, and I knew that you were there for me too, even though you were cacking it at me.
Yes, exactly. So let's move forward. So we've met, we're working together, and you know, at this stage I was your boss. It was a very unique relationship. Very unique form of relationship. And obviously, I think we only worked together for maybe 12 months before I left for marrying, or maybe even less. I can't even remember. But we probably got closer even after I left, I think, when that professional sense of not
The
that we,
professional sense is gone.
yeah,
Anyway.
well, that was gone anyway. But I think that enabled us to get even closer.
Oh,
What have you done?
I've done it again.
Did you spill your apple juice?
I did spill my apple juice.
You can't even blame it on the baby.
I know.
I want to talk to you a little bit about you going overseas, me being overseas now, distance, the important people in your life, how you maintain that, what that means to you, all that type of stuff.
Yeah. So when I went overseas, I remember I told you I'm just going. I had a bad day at work and just booked a one-way ticket and went because I was sick of waiting for people to, like, people would always say, "Oh, I'll come with you," and I was sick of it. And I remember when I left, you said, "Good on you, like, go for it. You need to do this." And I checked in here and there when I was sober, and like even when I was living in England, like, I reckon we had a couple of conversations about everything. We always kept in touch. And I think it's like when you were leaving to go to Canada, you said, well, there's some people that are telling me not to go and stuff like that. And I remember I said to you too, why? Like, the people that are closest to you will just check in. Like, distance doesn't do anything. We've got FaceTime now. Like, it's exactly the same.
I actually, like, I can picture it. We were at the end of the alleyway. You were getting in your car on the T-junction from where I lived, and I was standing on the side of the road, and you were just so casual. And I'm like, I might not see you for a long time. And you're just like, just go. And he said it it sounds like a brutal way. And I guess for people that don't know you and I and the way that we communicate, that's pretty much how we communicate all the time. But it sounded so cold that, like, well, your real friends are going to stay real friends no matter where you are. And I think I've had two people on podcasts so far that didn't know me from Australia, aren't even in the same place that I am now. But all my close relationships from before I left are long distance now. And yeah, times that makes it difficult. You and I probably don't speak like this as often as we used to. But I think what I've definitely learned from my whole group of friends from home to now is the ones that I was always really open with about how I felt, and went through some tough times together. The ones that it doesn't matter the gap between your communication, that stuff's really real. And I think it remains that way all the time.
Yeah.
And I think back to the stories we've talked about just a couple briefly, but I think the lesson in that is that those bonds or human connectivity, like when you're open with someone in that real genuine way, like literally your heart's pouring out to someone, that stuff stays between people forever.
Yeah.
And I know that yeah, go for it.
Sorry. I also, like, I strongly believe that, like, the best type of friends are, it doesn't matter how much time has gone between, you just pick up like nothing's changed. And it's like, oh yeah, no worries. It's the ones that, like, need to be in contact every bloody day. They're the ones which are like, well, this is short term. Like, I know this is going to be a short term friendship because let's be real, we're all adults and we've all got our own lives. And it's like, everyone's busy. Like, you can't, like, when people get upset when you don't talk to them for a couple of days, it's like, calm down, like, just chill out. I'm still doing the same thing. Like, if I really need, like, if something bad happened, I'd call. But, like, other than that, like, because we still message, quite a bit, or we'll send like a snap or something like that, or like when you went through that previous stuff, like, you'd send me big ass messages, and then like novels.
Yeah, well,
and I always responded.
You did, and you did. You're a star. Well, okay, how about we park that, because I'm going to ask you about something and then you can go full ham on me. Like, you can go as hard as you want. I want you to talk about, because I'd said it in the intro, and I mean this, and I know that we'll probably play it down a little bit. Your glow up from a life perspective. No, honestly, and you
and a face perspective.
Yeah, for sure. You from the interview time when I met you in that stage to now, and even now going through a lot of stuff that you're currently going through. I'm not going to bring your personal things up right now, but even to be on this call right now, you're being an absolute star. I'm so proud of you. But it's actually amazing, Katie. Like, the alignment of yourself being a mother now, and obviously that's a huge part of it, and having Ez and all those things are very unique circumstances. Not everyone can resonate with becoming a mum, especially with how rare it was for you to even become a mum. We can unpack that a little if you wanted to, but like, why don't you talk a little bit about your journey from there to now in terms of, you know,
Everything.
yeah, well,
But when
self-reflection, what you've learned about yourself, how you went through that, all that type of stuff, the role other people have played, maybe.
Yeah. Well, when I first met you, I was just like more so a hurricane, and I just didn't care about much. Like I honestly, I wasn't afraid of death. Like I didn't. Like I know that sounds grim, but
No, I know.
like it's. I just didn't really care. I had no drive. I had no passion. I had nothing that I was really working towards. That's I guess why I put myself into going overseas, and because that's something I wanted to do. And like I think you can hands down say I was an absolute turd of a human. Like not 100%, but I was pretty bad. Like I would rock up to work looking like absolute crap. Like I just didn't care. And then I went on my trip, had all that fun and everything, and then I felt so lost because I was like, what next? Like, do I just keep traveling? Like I haven't got a career. Like I have no real drive. What am I going to do? And then obviously I've met my baby daddy for people who don't know. I met my baby daddy when I was away, and we sort of just took things up after I came back, and I fell pregnant. And when I went for a scan to see how far along, they found I have 2 uteruses and 2 cervixes. It's called uterus didelphys, and the medical professional said it's super rare to get pregnant and to have a successful pregnancy. So they said don't expect to get past 12 weeks. So I talked to my partner at the time and I said, what do you want to do? And he goes, well, if it's meant to be, it's meant to be. And I'm a massive believer in that too. Yeah. So got past 12 weeks and then they said, oh, well, don't expect to get past 20. Got past 20. Then at the 20-week mark, they said she's going to be prem because she's in the right uterus and she's only got enough space, the same as like twins. So they said because she's going to be premature, there's a high chance she's going to have epilepsy, autism, or cerebral palsy. And I had a little mental breakdown, and then I realised it's not going to change my mothering. I'm still going to put everything into it. And lo and behold, she's just allergic to life. So she's allergic to everything. So eggs, nuts, dairy, and rice for everyone playing at home.
Ez is a very healthy, beautiful young girl. She just has some allergies for sure.
She's perfect.
So what did you learn about yourself through that? Because you said, you know, you just didn't care, you didn't value much.
Well,
and
now
all of a sudden you have this little miracle, and I believe in, you know, what's meant to happen will happen, all that tough stuff as well. What did you learn?
I have learned that I'm supposed to be a mother, and I've now got a new career as well. So gone into disability support working, which I absolutely love. And I've now got that drive, and I want to do good for my daughter, and I want to be able to give her, you know, a good life. And I'm terrified of dying now because like, lo and behold, who's going to protect my child? I'm very particular on who looks after her as well. So there's only a handful of people that her dad and I trust to look after. She's 100% my world and has just given me like a new outlook on life for sure. She's definitely made me a better person, and now I care more about myself, my health, being a role model to my daughter, to give her a good life, to make sure, you know, she's getting the education she needs and she's getting fed correctly. Like I would eat McDonald's like 50 times a week, or like I just wouldn't eat for a week and I'd live off cigarettes and coffee. And now it's like, okay, we're having veggies tonight, we're having salad tomorrow. We're like, I'm caring about my body more because it's like, well, I need to be a healthy role model for my daughter. And I don't know, I think it's just given me a whole new lease on things. And I'm not as fiery anymore. I used to be a firecracker and go off at anything, and now I'm like, what's the point? Like, who cares? So well, I think
I want to give you some more credit, because that story just makes it sound like you got pregnant and you were saved. And what I want to say is that, if some people be listening going, well, I can't just get pregnant, I can't just become a mother. But I would also suggest to those people saying that, there's probably a lot of other people that have also just become a mother and probably not changed, not felt the way that you have, not progressed in that way. There's probably a lot of sad stories about people that were probably living the lifestyle that you were, fell pregnant, had the baby, and then went the complete opposite direction.
Yeah.
So
Like,
let's talk about you more, because like that's huge. Like there has to be some things that you realize about yourself. You just talked about your self-worth and all the things that you're doing for your daughter now, but there has to be some catalysts in there. You have to do stuff yourself. I've said on the first 2 podcasts, which I'm sure you'll get around to watching now that you're on one, that, you know, the only person that you can really that can change yourself is yourself. A network, a support, therapy, all those things help, but you have to enact that change. So I want you to start giving yourself a little bit more credit and talk about that.
Well, I absolutely believe that you can't change someone if they don't want to help themselves. And I finally did want to help myself. And, you know, I'm listening to, like, I go to therapy and I think it's absolutely fantastic. But I listen to my therapist when she says, like, okay, you're acting this way because of that. And I'm like, okay, be mindful of that, Katie. You can always progress in life. If you stay stagnant, you're going to just be a sad person. Like, don't just, I don't know how I'm trying to say this, but do you know what I mean? You know what I mean.
Yeah, I know what you found a purpose, and then you aligned all your other things around it as well. And I think the key thing is that you stayed. So let's wind back to when we met. We were very blunt and vulnerable about who we were and how we were. You just didn't have any direction. But I think what happened was you went from being blunt with everyone else to being blunt with yourself, maybe.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, yeah, that's
I just thought of it then. Yeah, bang. But you did. Like, let's like, and now
I'm still blunt with everyone else.
Well, I was about to say that. Now when you're blunt with me, it actually it resonates differently with me because of the place that you're at with yourself, and that goes back to something Mikey and I talked about the metaphor about helping yourself first before you help others. Yeah, you still are helping yourself in a lot of other ways, but the fact that you're doing that means that the way you are helping others is just really different now and so powerful for me. So thank you for exploring that a little bit. I know you don't find it easy to talk about yourself in a super pumped up, positive way like that.
No, I don't. I always just like shut it off. I'm like, ugh.
So I'll give you the floor then. You've seen me go through a lot. So I'm happy for you. And this is why I think this one will be a little bit different, because you've known me for a long time. People ask me, you know, why I do the balcony, what it really means. You know, some people are still confused, even though I'm watching a few episodes, and I know that. But maybe you can, you know, challenge me to talk a little bit about some stuff that I've gone through, or that you've seen me go through, or that you know that I've changed in, and maybe some of that stuff that you can think help other people that might be going
through. Pump you up.
No, you don't have to pump me up. You can tear me down first. You can say all the bad stuff. I don't really mind anything that might be valuable for someone. I'm really, go your hardest. I don't mind.
Well, when I first met you, you were so fiery and you would just pick fights. You'd be pissed off and you'd pick a fight with anyone, like mainly corporal people. And like Tyler used to call me over and be like, Katie, read this email. And it would start off with, as per my last email. And I was like, what are you doing? You're literally just starting a fight with corporate for no reason. And he had a chip on his shoulder. You had a chip on your shoulder. You were like, just had so much anger. But you had so much anger, and I didn't know what from. And then now, like seeing you now, you, even when we've had our chats and everything and all the messages that you send, you're like, should I send this? And I'm like, you have just like, it's definitely not as per my last email. It's definitely like toned down. It's okay. I'm thinking not only about myself, but I'm thinking about how the other person's going to react to this. And I think more considerate. For sure. And you're thinking outcomes more rather than like, I'm just going to attack. So I think you're doing much better now. Yeah. And also the fact that you're more vulnerable. You've also grown too, in the sense that, you know, you used to be like this big tough footy boy and be like, I don't know, you wouldn't ever let anyone see your emotions, or you wouldn't be vulnerable. And now, like, I don't know how many times we've both been on the phone to each other, like crying, or we've like, even like when you were back in Adelaide, like when you rocked up at at the beach and I was a mess, or when you rocked up at my old house and you were a mess. Like,
yeah. Okay. So this is good. So yeah, I get a
I
lot
know,
of people
I
ask
forgot
me.
what the question
No,
was.
you actually did. No, it's a very good point that you raised. So I get a lot of people that have met me here that ask me like, what would you like and why do you do these things? So yeah, let me be super vulnerable. I used to be an angry, confused, scared young man. And when I say young man, I mean up until like 25, 24, 25.
Mm.
Like I've flirted with some stuff that I had to deal with when I was younger. I never addressed any of that stuff. Like I just pushed it down, and I became a great actor pretending that that
Everything's
wasn't.
fine.
Yeah. But what happened is, and you just described it, it would come out in other ways over time. It would come out on the chip on the shoulder. It would come out on why am I getting defensive and protective over something at work in an email and all that type of stuff. Others started to see it. And yeah, I think past relationships there would be, you could probably unpack there's a lot of reasons why their past relationships were to do with that sort of stuff as well.
Well, I think there was a lot of triggers.
Mm-hmm. And I think people like yourself pointing it out to me in the way that you did as well. I can think of people like, from those days, Ollie and Aiden and obviously Billy and those people like that. Putting it in front of you and making you look in a mirror is really confronting. And Logan talked about the rock metaphor, which I love. And
Was this in a different podcast?
yeah, you'll see it one day. And sometimes you need someone to give you a little push, and that's what that was. And from starting to go into self-reflection, learning about trauma, learning about what I experienced when I was young, learning about what that does to my brain and all these type of things was just crazy. And then starting to talk about that, be comfortable talking about it, be open talking about it with yourself over the last few years, going through what I've gone through here, therapy, all that type of stuff. The empowering nature of all that, it's like it's new information. It's like studying something almost. It's wild, but it's studying yourself.
It's exhausting. It's exhausting finding out different things about yourself too. And like what I said before, like when my therapist points things out, I'm like, oh, yep, you've hit the nail on the head there. And then you start seeing it in everyday, like when you start to do things again and you're like, oh, I've picked that up. Like, you're more aware of it, I suppose.
And I've noticed as well, especially recently, now that I feel like I'm so centered in a lot of ways. I'm meeting new people being overseas, and that's one of the first things I notice. It's not in a judgy way, but it's almost you can almost feel the energy in another person as to how aligned they are with themselves, or if they're anxious, if they're nervous, and maybe why. Like, I don't know. I think it's a lot with eye contact.
Yeah, like what's your trigger? Because everyone's got triggers.
100%. And it's such an interesting shift, a paradigm shift in your mind. And I think it comes back to even to your example about yourself being a mother now and that alignment that you found with Ez and how that's changed your perspective on things. It like I use a sports analogy sometimes where people talk about when young kids get drafted to big leagues and stuff. It takes a few years before the game slows down. They say that on sport telecasts all the time. Oh, it's really slowing down for him. You would know that for sure. That's why I use the analogy. Yeah. So I think it's the same with life, right? But all that comes from learning and experience and being open to those things as well. If you've got the blinkers on and you're so agitated and you're not taking the time just to stop, reflect in a sports sense, watch replays, learn about that stuff, then nothing will ever slow down for you. And when it does slow down, you can really start to see the other people speeding by and all those other things and notice your triggers, because you actually can take the time to go, oh, why am I feeling like that? What's that? Or actually catch yourself thinking before you say something or act or anything.
Yeah, for sure. Like you just, I suppose, more aware, which I think is clever.
The beach walk is I think an interesting experience for both of us. Do you want to talk about your perspective of it, and then I'll talk about mine? Because I think it's a pretty beautiful story.
It is beautiful, but there's one part of it which I think you like completely forget as well, which is going to actually be hilarious.
Okay, go for it.
All right, so you were going through a breakup, and when Tyler goes through breakups, I get novels of messages. and it's okay because I'm there for you, and we all handle things in different ways.
Yeah.
And you had sent me a message about something, and I just said me and my baby daddy had broken up, and you just immediately stopped and you're like, I'll be over in 5 minutes. And came over. Tyler said, all right, let's go for a beach walk. My mum looked after Ez, and you had a busted, was it a knee or ankle?
Yeah, I couldn't walk, but I picked a beach walk. It was a bold strategy.
Yeah. So we were going for this walk, and I don't know, what was really good for me in that chat was I was just so lost once again. Like my life had just fallen apart. Like my family had just broken up. Like I was so bloody sad. And you said, okay, well, what's your goals? And you once again like broke down these goals and said, all right, so how are you going to achieve it? And no one actually says that. Like, you know that you've got goals that you have to reach to, but unless someone says like, how are you going to achieve that, and how are you going to make this work, and what do you want in life? Like, you really were blunt with me, and I needed it. And I was sitting there being sorry, like being sad and sorry for myself, and you just like, I don't know, it's essentially like, you're not the first person to go through this, so how are we going to fix this? You didn't say it like that, but it made a lot of sense to me, and I was like, all right, well, stop being sad, pick your, what is it, pull your boots up, pull your socks up, what's the saying?
Both of them.
One of them. Yeah. And you know what, I did.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't wearing any, we were on the beach.
No, honestly, yeah. So I'd hurt myself at footy, shock, very rare.
We did a very big walk as well. It was huge.
Yeah, and I was a mess. And then as soon as you sent that, I was just like, well, doesn't matter. And then I don't know. It was kind of, I think what I'm trying to, I guess, I think the takeaway for people from this is, you and I, from the get-go, were just like, here's who I am. Here's all my shit. Like, this is like, no, honestly, this is fucked up version of me, right? Even back then, when I had a chip on my shoulder and I was, more corporate and thought success was something else and all that type of stuff, like, you still knew my background shit. I just didn't know how to deal with it yet, but we were still honest. I just didn't know the things that I knew now about myself, but that's looking inwards. But
that's growing.
When you meet someone and you're just honest and you just have that trust that you're going to get that so much, it just removes so much bullshit in life, right? And like, we can go to the beach and someone can be going through shit and you can just have a really straight up conversation. And yeah, all the stuff that you said made it sound like I was pretty brutal, but it was in a very loving, caring way. But you can just be so honest, and you just don't have to second guess what anyone else is saying. Yeah, I just, Vancouver Island Brewery Hazy IPA just got me a little bit gassy.
Not sponsored.
Not yet. And then, I don't know, I just feel like life becomes so much simpler when you can just be fully transparent. And a lot of things I'm getting from people is about vulnerability versus oversharing, all this type of stuff. And you shouldn't tell everyone everything. And I'm like, yeah, of course you don't tell everyone everything. But
no, you pick and choose your battles and who it's with.
But when you have a connection with someone that's valuable, and you can feel this stuff, it's palpable. There's quantum physics and all this type of stuff. Like, I don't really know how to unpack it all, but there it is. And if you start to have more of those relationships with people, life becomes so much easier. You have that support network. You don't have to think twice.
Bullshit.
Just be open, and it's beautiful. And that's honestly the reason why I wanted you on here is, I know you're going through a lot of stuff now, and I know it's still really hard and you're still growing, but I just wanted to give an example of people, a relationship where it doesn't matter if you're a male, it doesn't matter if you're female, it doesn't matter if you're a mother, it doesn't matter if you talk to your family, don't have family, anything. All those things aside, if you can just be straight up with people in your life, like, I don't know what's going to happen from here for me. In a lot of senses, I know I want to be here and do all the things that I'm doing, but long term, I don't know if I'll ever be in Adelaide again, but I know that I can count on you. And I know that we're going to be like this for the rest of our lives, just because we have from the moment that we met. And I try to be like, yeah, go for it.
We also, like, as much as it sounds like we're assholes to each other, it's tough love that works best for us, I think.
Yeah. And I guess our personality types are going to be different than other people, but like, we know that it comes from the fact that, like, we would,
it's love. It's coming
for
from
each other.
love.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if there's anything else that I really want to unpack too much, apart from the fact that, like, you know, I guess I want to thank you. You know, I introduced it a little bit at the start, and Katie has, you know, really pumped it up from the novel version of stuff that I send her. But Katie bears the brunt of my weaknesses, I would say. And even though you've beautifully said how much I've grown, and I love, you know, the positive stories that we've shared, there's still, like, even the most perfect people in the world struggle with stuff, and I'm not even close to that. So I definitely have times where I'm still sad, pathetic, dark, whatever you want to call it. And you,
hey, me too. It's only normal.
I know, but you're just the best. You're always there for me. I can, yeah. Sometimes sometimes it's like I've got chips on both shoulders again, and I'm being an asshole. But it's you had the way that you just cut right through it is beautiful, and I don't think I'd be where I am right now if it wasn't for your support through this kind of stuff. And from the other side of the world, you're an amazing mom. It's the best watching your development with Ez and all the other little curveballs that come your way while she's dealing with it. You should be so proud of yourself. I know that Duncan and Cherie and all your friends are. I am. It's probably going to be June. I can't wait to come back and see you all. Honestly, it's going to be the best.
In June?
That'll be the latest, for sure.
The latest? So you'll be back for my birthday. Are you going to move back into the balcony, or are you going to...
Not moving back, just coming to visit.
Oh, okay.
Everyone can listen to this conversation now.
Yeah, no, I've just like switched off. I'm like, all right, so
I know
are we going to talk about what we usually talk about?
Yeah, I know. What do you mean? What do we not usually talk about?
Oh, well, like our conversation before was a little bit more intense. I had a bad day at work.
Yeah, everyone, Katie had a really, really bad day, and the fact that she's even on this call is a miracle. It's a testament to her and to her close friends that will find out about it. Like, wow, she's a gem, and you will cherish her even more. Okay, so all I'm going to say is, Katie, thank you for chilling on your phone with your cat, spilling apple juice, talking a little bit about our life journeys, and I love you so much.
I love you too, and I'm still not going to watch it.
I know. Thanks, Katie.
That's all right. Bye.